Hey, this is Russ. I'm off to the post office. Yep, have another mail to mail. So I figured I'll go to the post office today. Yesterday, I went to Bussy Woods and I rode with the new battery. I rode 41 miles. And I still have battery left over. My battery meter shows 4 out of the 5 bars after 41 miles. So I didn't charge up the battery, and my goal today is to run this battery down to find out what's my maximum amount of mileage I can get on it. Now, unlike the first time I rode with the battery, I rode that battery at 75% throttle and only 25% of pedal assist levels 2s and 3s. And I was able to get 44 miles total before the battery finally quit. But I'm at 41 miles already, and I'm only on number 4 out of 5 on my battery meter. Let me get off over here. Oh, by the way, they have fixed some of the, let me tilt it a little bit here. What I'm trying to do is set off the sensor by leaning my bike on the sensor, trying to make it feel like I'm actually here. Okay, here's a car. That'll set it off. So yeah, they're fixing the streets, which is good. And even though they're fixing the streets, they're not necessarily fixing the rest of the road. The sidewalks are still messed up. Curbs are still messed up. Let's see if I could let this guy over, because without him going over, I'm never gonna have this thing turn. These guys are never turning. I'm just gonna go. Here's the thing, all right? Let me say this. If you are a car and there's a bike in front of you, you've got to get your car over those road sensors that flip the stoplights. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there forever, just like the bike's sitting there forever. We can't trigger it well because we don't have enough metal. And if you don't put your car over the sensor, it's a little cutout right in front of the intersection, the crosswalks. If you don't get your car over that thing, you're going to be sitting there forever too. All right. So just a word to the wise: if you're a car, go ahead and get a little closer. And I try my best to encourage these cars to come up, but they keep their distances. They don't want to hit you, but you know, we're all going to be sitting there forever. So I think that's my biggest frustration riding on the streets, is not being able to trigger the stoplights. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Anyways, my intention is to wear this battery down, find out what the maximum amount of usage it'll give me. So it's 4 out of 5, and at 41 miles already, I don't know. We'll see. I'll report what the total mileage is after I start doing the editing. But let me take a guess. All right. I'm going to say we're going to break 50 miles on this battery. I think we've got at least 10 more miles out of this, maybe more. I mean, if it's truly 4 out of 5, it's going to be even past that. So why did I get 44 miles last time? That's because I rode with the throttle 75% of the time, all right, and only pedaled 25% of the time. Now, I did that purposely I wanted to see what the worst case scenario would be, because that would be the worst case. I know I would pedal, but what if I mostly throttled and I still got 44 miles out of it? So pretty impressive. And we don't know what the long term will be for the battery. I don't think anyone really knows that unless you've had the battery for a while. But they say that the Chinese cells aren't the best compared to like the Samsung, Panasonic cells, Sony cells, things like that. But so far, it's doing okay. and the cost is very low. I think the battery and charger cost me about $373.50, something like that. Add the sales tax, no shipping because it's Amazon. And had to buy some connectors, had to buy an adapter cable, and then another cable from Bolton e-bikes. That cable, by the way, is sold out. I'm glad I actually ordered that cable well before the battery, with anticipation that one day I probably will be getting the battery, and then also knowing how the supply chain has been dropping. I said, as long as he has the cable now, I better order it and just sit on the cable until one day I get the battery. And I said, even if I don't buy this particular battery and I end up getting another battery, well, then so be it. So I had ordered that thing probably a month or two before in anticipation of this. So I'm glad I got it because he's sold out, and I don't know when he's going to get more. Now you could skip that. You could just make the extension, the XT90 connection onto by cutting a splice right in the middle of the Cradle battery that comes with the Rad battery. You could cut it there, but who wants to who wants it to reach too far down? So I made an extension cable so that I could put my battery on the rear rack, and my extension cable is made out of an old Monster cable audio wire. Okay. In fact, that thing is so old that it's actually all oxidized and everything. It wasn't oxygen-free copper. But it works. And so I'm able to do it the way I did. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to show you a couple photos here. And this is specifically for subscriber John B. Now, John mentioned to me, he says, I'm sure you'll find a way to make the battery look better on the rear rack. Because the way I originally did it, and I'll show you another picture here, I have foam that protects the battery. That's the shipping foam. Let me pass this here. I'm throttling right now. I have shipping foam that's really high density foam, and I put that inside the top bag of the panniers. And of course, because it's so big and bulky, it doesn't fit inside the bag, right? And then I put a couple of green bungee cords to secure it. Now, the bag is clipped by 4 quick release clips, right, to the other pannier bags. So even if I didn't use the bungee cord, that battery's not going anywhere. But it's not as secure that way, because there is some play. There's a little bit of some wiggle room. So I figured if I bungee corded it, it's more secure. So here's what I did. All right, I cut the top of the foam, and the reason is because the top of the foam, where the wider part of the battery is, actually faces towards the saddle. So even if your bike fell, that's not going to get hit. That's facing the saddle. That's never going to get hit. So I said I don't really need that top part of the foam, and by cutting it, it made it shorter, and of course now it'll fit directly into the bag. So I'm able to zip up the bag. So now you can't even see the battery. It just looks like a bag. But I still need the bungee cord. So I went to Menards and bought bungee cords. I think they give you like 10 different ones. 2 each of this and 2 each of that sizes. And so I took the longest bungee cord, which happens to be black, all right, which matches the color of the panniers. I took the two longest ones, wrapped it around twice through to the rack, and then connected it that way. So it's just as secure, if not even more secure now. It's black, so it's kind of hidden. You don't see it as much. I think it looks a lot better. So there you go, John. I found a solution, but yeah, I still need to use the bungee cord. But it's black bungee cord against a black background, all right? So happy with that. I think this is my best solution so far. Anyways, we're getting closer to the post office, and I've been throttling a lot. My battery's now dropped down to 3. Yesterday it was actually teeter-tottering between 3 and 4. If I throttled, it dropped to 3. If I pedaled, it was on 4. So I had hoped to run down the battery yesterday, but man, I had already ridden 41 miles. I was too tired because I was pedaling 50% of the time. So I pedaled for 20-something miles, where that's a lot of pedaling. All right, we're at the post office, so let's do this mailing. Early in the morning, I can't pedal right away. I'm still stiff at my knee, so I usually throttle for a bit. All right, hold on for a second here. Let me get the mail out of the back. There's a zipper section here that allows me to zipper stuff like this. So the mail, drop that in there, and we're off. Now I could leave the mail in our mailbox. We have a mailbox that goes street level, so the mailman doesn't have to walk up to the house. They just drop it in front of your mailbox that's at street level, and then they just ride to the next house and drop it off at the next mailbox at street level. And then if you flip the little flag on the mailbox, it tells the mailman that you have outgoing mail, and then he'll pick it up if you just put it in your mailbox. But since getting the bike, I've been riding to the post office instead, because it gives me a purpose to go somewhere. And I've always worried a little bit about those mailboxes. I mean, how do I know some kid doesn't come by and say, oh, look, there's mail in here, I'm just going to steal that mail. And by the way, that is a federal offense if you tamper with the U.S. mail. The kids don't know that. So, it's never happened before, all right? But, why chance it? So anyways, I will continue this video in a bit. My camera is going to run down pretty soon, but we'll continue on when we're out at the Forest Preserve. So I will be right back. Okay, I am on one of the bike paths, and let me report real quickly what the result was on the battery. I was able to get another 8.5 miles out of it. So these battery meters on the Rad Power bike, it's not linear. I don't trust them. I mean, you go from about 3.5 bars down to 1 bar blinking with only 8.5 miles. But when it's on full, at 5 bars and 4 bars, you get 41 miles. So it drops dramatically. This is why I keep saying that you need to know what the actual amount of mileage you have on your battery, and keep track of your mileage when you're riding. Don't even worry about the battery meter, because they're not linear. You can't say that, okay, now I've got 3 bars left, I've got X amount of percentage. You don't know that. Even the battery itself, when I looked at it this morning before I actually put it on the bike, it showed I had 60% of power. 60% of power only gave me 8.5 miles. Don't trust the meters. Just know what your full range really is. I'm actually running right now with the Rad Power Bike's battery because the other one pooped out, and so it literally stopped. I was riding it, and then I said, okay, it's like blinking one bar. Can I make it back? And nope, it just died on me. Died to the point where I had 0 assist. So at that point I had to get off the bike, switch the batteries out. That's the nice part about having these XT90 connectors on the batteries and being able to swap it out so quickly. It's not hard to do. You pull one plug, plug the other plug in, you're done. Start up again. So, alright, so that's a 50% throttle, 50% pedaling. It might have been a little, maybe even 60% throttle, 40% pedaling, something like that maybe. So I can count on at least 49 miles. Let's say if we did more pedaling than throttle, yeah, I think we'd be over 50 miles on that battery. Now, others may look at this and say, well, my bike gives me 40 miles. Why is yours having so much problems? You got a big battery and you're only getting that much. It's my weight. I'm a lot heavier than a lot of guys that are riding bikes. So you add my weight, you add the weight of the battery, you add the weight that's already in the panniers of my bike, everything. You're moving a heavier load. That's going to affect it. Plus, you don't know how people ride. Are you riding up and down hills? Are you throttling more than somebody else? So you really can't gauge your battery against somebody else's. You can't make comments saying that my battery's better than your battery simply because you don't know how they ride, you don't know how heavy they are, and where they ride, right? If they have hills or they don't. So all I'm saying is you need to know what is the range on your battery. That's the key thing to remember. And the only way to do that is you've got to test out the batteries. Now, I've ridden twice. I got 44 miles one time. I got 49 miles the second time. The chances of me riding 75% throttle and 25% pedaling is very slim. I don't typically do that. So 50-50, yeah, maybe. I figure that is worst case scenario for me. And at 50-50, I'm getting 49 miles out of this battery. That's pretty good. That's more than I expected on a Rad battery. Rad battery, if I did 50-50, I'm lucky to get 24 miles out of it. All right. So had I bought the Rad battery, it would have cost me $700 with tax, a secondary charger, and the battery, and shipping. The shipping was like $60, bringing it up to $700. $700 versus roughly $450 for the Chinese battery. More range with the Chinese battery, less cost with the Chinese battery. I think I'd go with the Chinese battery. If this thing were to cut out and die again, I'd buy another Chinese battery. Yeah. All right, let's address another thing with this battery: fires. There's a video on YouTube talking about this brand of batteries. It is called, what is it called? Unit Pack Power. Okay, it's a weird name for a battery company. But you'll see a video where the guy says his house caught fire from the battery. And we don't know for a fact if that's the case or not, but that's what he's claiming. So the CEO of the company in China made a video to kind of refute that. So what he did is he asked the guy to send some photos of the bike and the battery, because he says, how do we know that the fire started from our battery? It could have started from anything. You're just claiming it did. I mean, if you're going to make a claim to a company that something happened to your house and you're asking them to pay for the house, well, it would be reasonable that company would say, well, you're going to have to give us some proof that it was our product that created that problem. And the guy refused to give him the photos. So he can't prove it. He can't prove it that it was from him. He can't prove that it was the battery that caused it. He can't prove anything. So I guess they didn't pay out anything. I mean, if I was the company, I wouldn't pay out either unless you could prove it. So, but I think that kind of video would probably hurt the company quite a bit, regardless. People, do a search on the internet and they find a video like that, and whether it's true or it isn't, you just tend to think, okay, well, look what it did to this guy. You don't know for a fact that it did, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking that. So for me, my battery's working pretty good. I don't know if it'll catch fire. I really don't. I don't know if it will or it won't. But I know one thing: I won't be charging the battery without me being home. So yeah, it puts a doubt in your mind. Hold on. Yeah, so does it hurt the company? Yeah, it does hurt the company. I'm sure they're losing sales because of that. So you don't know if it's right or it's wrong, but it does hurt the company. But I will tell you this, if you're watching this video because you searched unit pack power or whatever, my battery's working good so far, right? Can't guarantee it's not going to blow up. Can't guarantee it's not going to catch fire. All right, I'm back up. So let me say this. Here are some negatives I found with the battery. I ordered the 2.5 amp charger, and that takes 9 hours to charge fully. Now, I could have ordered the 4 amp charger, which would have done it in 6 hours. And I'll guarantee you many people would probably order the 4 amp battery charger instead. It's only like $15.49 more, all right? So why didn't I go with the faster charger? Well, lithium-ion batteries, I'm dodging branches again. Lithium-ion batteries tend to have a longer life if you charge them slower. So I figured, the history of Chinese batteries isn't really that great. You hear a lot of reports of, batteries causing problems with devices, batteries blowing up, batteries not having long life. So I figured, why risk that? So I decided I'll buy the slower charger, give the battery a better chance to survive. Okay, so that is a drawback. Morning. 9 hours is a long time. I mean, even if I ride in the morning, that means I can't even pull a plug probably until like time to go to bed later. So it's charging the whole day long. Okay, not the whole day, but most of my waking day, right, after riding. So that is a drawback. But you're also looking at a larger battery pack than the Rad Power Bike's battery. So it will take longer to charge it, and of course with the slower charger it's going to take even longer. So that's a drawback. Another drawback is the weight. This thing is very heavy. It's 14 pounds. I think the Rad battery is like 7.7 pounds, something like that, a little over 7 pounds. So it's twice the weight. Is it twice the battery? It could very well be twice the battery. So maybe it's worth that extra weight. I don't know. I'll let this guy go first. Morning. All right, so being a triangle battery too, you can put that in the triangle of the frame of your bike. But what if you have a step-through bike? Yeah, that's a problem. You don't have a triangle to put it on. You'd have to put it on a rear rack like I did. All right, nothing wrong with that. It's just that it looks a little different. And if you look at the photo, here's how I did it. You know, but if you don't have panniers or you don't have anything like that, you have to figure out something that'll lock it in place. Now, one thing I did say is I don't recommend you put the battery on the side of a pannier bag, because if you fall, you could probably break the battery if it falls right on the battery. You put it on the top, chances are it won't hit the battery. Morning. You probably won't hit the battery. It'll jar it, but like I said, if you put foam, the packing foam that it came with, if you put that to surround the battery, you have a better chance of the battery's survival if it falls. So, anyways, these are the things I'm learning so far with the new battery, and I posted it on the Rad Power Bikes owners community on Facebook, and a number of people have looked at the video. A couple of people have asked about it, and a question came up: will it work with other Rad Power Bikes? I think it would. I don't see why it wouldn't. You just have to make the adapters and everything. All right, we're gonna let these ladies go first with the dogs. Thank you. So yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't work with other Rad Power Bikes. Yeah, I mean, you could use it on other bikes too. My bike is designed for 48 volts, but I'm running a 52 volt battery. But I understand that the controllers on these bikes can handle a 52 volt. 52 volt is just the nominal, meaning it's called a 52 volt, but really when it's charged to its max, it was 59 volts, 59.1 specifically. So it can handle it, it's not a problem. And the higher amps you have, it's really just more about range. It has really nothing to do with anything else. The more amps you see is the more range you can go before the battery poops out. All right. Let me say this too. The battery doesn't really poop out. It just doesn't have enough voltage to continue driving the item that you're using it with. So in the bikes, the bike needs 40 something volts. I don't know what the total amount is, 40, maybe 44 volts. I don't know, whatever the minimum amount of voltage it needs to get that motor to run. And once it kicks lower than that, either the controller or the motor or whatever says, oh, you don't have enough power to run this, and it just stops. But the battery still has power in there, of course. It's still got voltage. It's just that it's not enough voltage for that particular bike. All right, let me give you another hint too. I always give you guys hints. I'm drying out too, by the way. The chapstick thing again. I didn't put the chapstick on, so if I keep licking my lips, you know why. I never throw out my AA, AAA batteries when a device says, it doesn't have enough power. So people will say, oh, the battery's dead, I'm going to toss it out. The battery's not dead. The battery just doesn't have enough power to run that device. You know what I do? I keep all those batteries, and I throw them in my mouse on my computer, my Bluetooth mouse. Why? Because the Bluetooth mouse doesn't need a whole lot of voltage to run. So those batteries you think are dead still have enough to run the Bluetooth mouse for months. All right. So I don't waste batteries that way. I don't just toss them for the sake of saying, oh, it didn't work in my flashlight, so I'm throwing them away. I don't do that, because if I keep them, I can stick it in another device, and that's enough power to run that device. So yeah, don't just waste your batteries like that. Find other devices that could use that supposed dead battery, because it's not dead. Put it into that. All right. How you doing? So think about all of the batteries I use for my digital audio recorder. That's hidden behind my back. Okay. When that thing says it's dead, I keep those batteries too. And what happens is those are batteries that I use for other devices. So yeah, I don't waste them. Don't just toss them. All right, this is the hardest hill to go up, and that's because the RadRover 5 probably isn't a true 750 watt motor. It's probably 500 watts that peaks at 750, and because of that, it has a hard time climbing that major hill. Now, the Rad Power Bike's RadRover 6 Plus might be able to do that. The Hemiway probably would do that with no problem. So, alright, this thing's long enough. Just wanted to bring you guys out and let you know what I was doing today. Show you what happened with the second ride with the battery. And yeah, 59 miles. I think we can count on at least 59 miles on this thing, as long as you ride it, 50-50. Anyways, if you like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys next time.